Hi, this will be a video to simply show you some of the techniques and skills that you need to know for Microsoft Word or word processors, which can also be used for OpenOffice. But there are a few differences between Microsoft Word and OpenOffice, so I would recommend you to look up on them if you are going to be using Microsoft Word and transition from OpenOffice that we used to have at school. Now, as you may know, on my website, there's this exact same file that contains the skills tested for word processors, based on the current past papers that are online on extremepapers.com. If you wish to see a book version of this, there is a book version of this on the IGCSE ICT website that many of you probably knows about. It is about 68 pages long for word processors, but it is still a good source of information. Now, before we start on, we just have to start with the basics. Let's firstly extract a file from IGCSE. I hope that this is the one. Should be extracting it here. Now, in this case, these are all RTF files, rich text format, and for Microsoft Word, you can just open it immediately, especially if you're using Windows. But in the case of Macs, it is slightly different, and you do have to click on a few settings before you can get to the RTF file for Microsoft Word or for OpenOffice or LibreOffice. So you can actually just open just like that, but I'm sure that this is not the file that I want at this time. Okay, this is probably the file that we want, since there's a lot of text on it. Now, looking at the file, there will be questions based on making a header website, and seeing that these two are unbalanced, there will be a question on changing this. But what we want to do is to just go through all the skills that are needed for a word processor. Firstly, in the how to load RTF files, we have done that just now. Now we also have to set some important options. So what you want to do is to go down to Word options from this Microsoft Office symbol here, Word options, and what you really want to change is going from inches to centimeters. Because centimeters is what IGCSE likes to use the most. And there is not much else that you really have to change, though there may be if the school computer does have different settings to what I have at this time, which is the default one, apart from the changes on the centimeters. Same the toolbars, actually the toolbars are actually set mostly, but you can always change what you want on the toolbars by just going into customizing and adding these in, should you have to. And you can add it onto anywhere you want, add a footer, borders and shading. Now we also have to set out the page. Setting page size is actually a really easy one. So basically what you have to do is go to page layout, or maybe document elements in 2010. I believe it is document elements. Apologies if I am wrong. And then you can go into more paper sizes, change it to your custom size, or you can even just click on A4. It seems that it wasn't A4 at that time, probably something smaller. Setting page orientation, for example, the most common one is changing from this kind of portrait one to a landscape one. So once again, you're going to page layout, Go to page layout, go on to orientation and set it to landscape. Um, Now setting the margin length is also an easy one, and it is also a really common one. There will always be a question on this. Just to show you, this is how you get. You need to go to margins. It's quite self-explanatory. Custom margins, and change it. For example, this one may tell you to put on 2 centimeters to the left, 2 centimeters to the right. No, 3 centimeters, 1 centimeter. That seems alright. And this margin can actually be selected for a few. I'll be showing you that in just a second. So we got this right now, so we have changed the margins. You can of course change the margins using this, but I don't recommend that because it is less accurate. Now let's just see how to. I'll just be copy pasting this numerous times so that I can show you how to set the page margins for selected text. Let's say we only want to change this one page. In that case, we can go into margins, custom margins, apply to selected, and then put it on, I don't know, 10 centimeters, 10 centimeters. This one can be, oh no, 7 centimeters, apologies, 7 centimeters. There you go. So for this particular text, it has been changed to this size, and afterwards it is still at the same 10 centimeters. Of course, this doesn't look great, so I'll just change it back. But that is how you do it. Headings and footers is actually quite a difficult one for OpenOffice. This one is the one where it differs quite a bit. For headers and footers, what they'll want you to do in headers is to put in your name, put in your candidate number, put in your school number. On the footer, they'll always ask you to put in some kind of page number, sometimes the document, the title of the document, sometimes the date. All depends, but the header is always the same. The header, you must always click on blank 3 columns. Otherwise, if you do it for 1 column, you have to continuously tab it. For example, hi, and then you have to tab it, which doesn't look good at all. So I always recommend you to make it to 3 columns, so there's just there. Usually this one will be the candidate name. This one, the next one will usually be the center number, I believe. Apologies if I'm wrong. Then candidate number. That's how it's usually like. Now, for footers, it's the same exact thing. Insert, go to footers, go to maybe blank. You can put in date and time. Choose one. Then you can also do 3 columns for this. Put in a date here. Bring your page number here. Oops. Just say page number here, current position. Always put the current position. Maybe it will tell you to do something else. Oh no, actually I have no idea, because this is the two most common ones that they ask you to do. With that, that is mostly it for headers and footers. But sometimes there is this thing, different heading and footer on the first page. This one is actually easy as well. Just go back into your headers by double clicking on the space above this 90 degrees angle, right angle. Just go in there, click on different first page, and the first page header is different from header. So whatever you click here, does not affect what you put in the header. Apologies. And what you put in the footer on the first page does not affect what you put on the footer for the second pages. Changing the format of text, changing font, everyone should know how to do that. Especially if you've been typing up, just changing the fonts here and there. In fact, this even shows you how they look like, so that's helpful. Changing the color is here. Just change it, and the color is changed. Ordered list to non-ordered list. For those of you that do not know, ordered list is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one over here, 1, 2, 3. That is the ordered list. The non-ordered list is this one, where there's just bullet points. In fact, I've just shown you how to change from an ordered list to a non-ordered list. Just select the portion, and change it to a bullet point list or a number list, doesn't matter. Bold, italics, and underline is all there. Bold, italics, underline. Or for those of you that like to use shortcuts, Control B for bold, or Apple B for bold, Control I for italics, or Apple I for italics, Control U for underline, or Apple U for underline. In fact, most of you should know that. Serif versus sans serif is sometimes a confusing one. Serif fonts are basically the fonts where it has this kind of thing on the final parts. I'll just show you an example right here. Going to the most common serif font, which is Times New Roman. You go in here, you see this kind of thing at the end. This is a serif font. On the other hand, a sans serif font, for example, Arial, does not have it. So, but whenever you do this, the most common ones to use is just use Times New Roman or Arial. Use Times New Roman for serif, Arial for sans serif. On the Macs, there's also Helvetica, which is sans serif font. Okay. Next one, we need to go into changing text layout. Changing text layout means the alignment, line spacing, placing text into columns. Once again, easy things. Let's look at what was it? Alignment. Alignment is these things over here. Basically, justified, left align, center. No, this is centered. Apologies. This is left align. This is right align, and the justified text. As most of you probably know, and you can just change this, and once you just hover over, you can even see what it is. Align text left, left align, center aligned, right align, justified. And the shortcuts, once again, follow the first letters, the centered, left, right, and justified, apart from center. Control L for left aligned, Control R for right aligned, Control J for justified, but Control E for centered, because centered, Control C is copy paste. Line spacing can be easily done using this function over here. You can even go into line spacing options and change it, and change even the spacing itself usually, but they usually ask you to change it from single to 1.5 or double. If you want to change only a certain portion, just highlight that portion, change it. Only that portion is affected, nothing else. Now we are going into reorganizing document. Sometimes they'll ask you to find a certain portion of the text and replace it with something. And there you go, your favorite Sing for web pages, Control F. Find what? Oh no, they may ask you to change I. You know, is there an I in this? Not sure. They might ask you to replace I with a U. Replace all. Well, yeah. So that's what's going to happen. Once again, let's find U and then replace that with an I. Just bring it back. Replace all. Oh man. Okay, it doesn't look that great anymore, but it's alright. Guess. This was only almost just for fun. Moving text. Moving text will often require you to, let's say, get this entire section starting with get lots of storage. Just Control Exit, just cut it, and then add it on to another place by Control V, pasting it. Adding page breaks, most of you do know. On here it's Control Enter. That's a page break. Apple, it is Apple Command Enter. Or you can just insert, go to insert if you have forgotten, and go into a page break here, over here. The next one is placing text into columns. Placing text in columns requires you to go into page layouts once again and then change your columns. Most times they will ask you to change the spacing itself. So let's say they want to have 2 columns, they'll ask you to change the spacing to usually 2 centimeters. At times, however, they'll say, oh, keep the first page intact, however. Okay, in that case, we have it over here. Okay, we'll ask you to keep the first page intact. So just like that. Hence, click on the first letter, or in the first place you can add a letter. Well, what happened here? And then from there on, page layouts, columns, more columns. 2, line spacing usually 2 centimeters, as I told you. That's why you want to change it to centimeters, otherwise it doesn't work. Apply to this point forward. In that case, the first page is affected, but every other page is. So that is a very useful tool to know. Images. Let's just look for a really stupid image somewhere. I wrote this screen hunter that I found of my typing. To bring it on. Yes, I have. Why is it there though? Oh. Okay. Just take this to first page. Control X. I'll cut it, and I'll just take it. Now they will probably put it here and change it from there. Here from here, formatting the picture. Adding images, cropping, adjusting size, rotating, flipping, text wrapping. Adding images, just drag and paste. Or on OpenOffice, you have to go into Insert, then you have to go into Images. Fortunately, I do not think I have OpenOffice loaded, and therefore I cannot show you. Now, from this image over here, you can go to Picture Tools, Format, and you can crop. Cropping is actually the easy part. You can crop it so there's smaller, bigger. They usually won't ask you to crop though. If they ask you to crop, it's not really a good idea to crop on Microsoft Word. Just crop it on, let's say, Photoshop, because that helps more. Cropping here is really laggy, and as you just see. Rotating, just click on rotate. For flipping, going to rotate again and flip. Now here comes the interesting parts. Have I finished everything yet? Oh, adjusting the size. Just right click it, form a picture, change the size. They may ask you to lock the aspect ratio, which is this ratio of width to length of the picture. In that case, I just lock the aspect ratio. If you don't want to, doesn't look as great, of course. You can just change it here, say 10. Oh, whoops, 10 meters, no. Apologies, 10 centimeter. There you go. But if you didn't keep it aspect ratio, if you didn't lock the aspect ratio, this was likely to happen. Change this to 20. That's what's going to happen. So obviously, you don't really want that. Now let's go into text wrapping. Text wrapping requires you to go. Text wrapping requires you to look at position or text wrapping, and they'll usually say. I think it's better to give an example in this case. Put it top and bottom, so that there's text at top and text is bottom, but nothing anywhere else. Even if it's like that, if it's here, just top and bottom. Must be top and bottom. That's their favorite one. Sometimes they'll also ask you to put it behind the text. So and you can just look through all of these layout options. But quite often they do not want you to change the text wrapping by using advanced layout, allowing overlap. They don't exactly want you to do that. What they'll ask you to do is just change it from here. This is the same on OpenOffice, I believe. So that is images done, which is actually a really crucial part in Word. Tables, adding tables. Most people should know how to do this if you've been doing the role mode essays properly. Just find a portion, go into insert table, and they'll even give you a number of columns, rows. Let's change. Adding and deleting rows. Select a certain row, select a certain column, and delete. Here, see this over here? Just delete it. Nothing hard. Or of course, they may expect you to go into the layout, delete the columns. Very annoying though. I do not think they will expect you to do that much. Going to merging, merge cells. Can't think of a better example. Right click, merge cells. That's what they're always. Those are the two ways of doing it. But right clicking a table, once you right click on a table, there is always this merge cells option. Changing the borders, click on this entire thing, go into design, change the borders. Let's say they wanted you to put it on a different color, like red. Let's just make it more clear. In that case, put it onto color red, put it onto draw table. Oops. All these, just put onto pen colors. All borders changed. If you don't want it and you want another color, go to, let's say, black, click on this borders button. Always does the job for you. Or of course you can go into borders and shading and change it, which I believe is the only way to do this on OpenOffice. changing the shading, just go to back shading, and I'll change the shading for you. Or of course you can once again go into shading, border shading, and change the shading of the document as a whole. And definitely a good example. Apologies. Table properties. Apologies. Once again. Borders and shading. Let's put it into red. So that is how you go along with all your skills for word processors. I would recommend you to solve many past papers to get the hang of using word processors. I would also recommend you to go on YouTube and search up for people solving these ICT papers. That helps a lot, in my opinion, and that certainly helped me. That is how I got to know some of these techniques. And once again, thanks and good luck on your mocks and on your IGCSE.